Okay, we're live. Hi, guys.
Keep front and back of house singing the same tune.
If you think a fanny pack is going to help you when you head outdoors, think again. You need the
Hey, Diane, good to see you.
These people have been working. A documentary is almost done. So a lot of.
No, yesterday I had to go and do sign a car over. We bought a car, and today I got away with getting up there and getting blood tests already.
These people have been working very hard.
Hey, Phil, good to see you, bro.
That the president will release some of this information. So I need to explain a couple of things to you. I have a friend here that Gabe, you want to come up? And Gabe is the Lord had chosen him. Go ahead and introduce yourself. You got the Lord had introduced him to me a couple years ago, and then last week when I was doing this research, I've been waiting over 20 years, almost 30 years. A lot of the things you're seeing here I've known for 30 years, but I wasn't allowed to talk about it.
I like this guy. We've watched this guy a few times.
Because it was classified, but a lot of people have come forth under the protection of the government, which is an oxymoron. But the bottom line is a lot of people that I knew personally that were involved with a lot of these things I'm going to talk about, over the next couple of months. It's gonna target. I'm going to be targeted, so I'm probably going to have to back off. This might even be the last one I do. It just depends upon how much I say that goes over the threshold where they start sweating. The problem is that it's your taxpayers' money. It's your money that they're spending on these things. And the way that they got them is not what they're saying. And I need to tell you how they got this stuff is what I'm saying. But not only that is that a lot of the stuff that's classified can be weaponized against its own people. So a lot of the technology is kept from us. And so what they do is they make it something that it's not. So there's a narrative, and so Gabe, just go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll just tell us a little bit about yourself. And the Lord, last week when I found this and uncovered this, I was so happy I couldn't breathe. I was running around the house because I found all these documents that were not released, and somebody, when they passed away, they were released. So I grabbed them all, and so I've known about this for a long time, but was not able to get these things. These are all from deathbed confessions and drawings from people in the government that just said they can't do anything to me now. I'm given over to death within the next couple of weeks. So they gave their confessions and drawings and information to an individual. And then he said, contact Gabe and let Gabe be the guy that I play ping pong with this morning. So Gabe, go ahead.
Well, I just 3 years ago was riding an electric skateboard, and without a helmet, of course, because who wears those? You know what I mean? And I hit the little bump in the middle of the road, flipped off, cracked my skull in half. I was in a coma for 18 days. And the hospital, of course, asked for the good old last will. And but November 12th, 2021, the Spirit of the Lord set me back, and I woke up, and I was miraculously healed and walked out of the hospital. Skull was healed. I have MRI. No, seriously. I have MRI photos of like the before and after, and like the skull is like, and the doctors were like, we can't explain to you. They made me sign a contract because they said they wanted no liability with my life. Seriously. So I just take every day on the Lord's credit, and I did become a nut for the Lord, and as anyone would, but I just love the Lord, and I'm thankful for Kevin. This man's a real man, and I'm thankful that the truth is being revealed in this hour. And it's funny that you'd call me because the Lord had led me through some pathways the past 2 or 3 weeks about some documents that were released too. So when Kevin contacted, I was like, oh my goodness, because it was like, but he didn't tell me anything. but the
Yeah,
Lord was
and I
speaking.
purposely didn't tell him a
He told me
thing.
nothing.
I
Said,
just said,
come.
show up Saturday morning. I want it to be cold turkey because I want to watch his reaction, because then you can also identify with this. If I don't do this morning and put this out to the world, what will happen is that people will be shocked. And I want to get rid of the shock factor because I want you to be able to have time to assimilate it. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm just going to show you, I'm going to use Gabe as the person who's kind of moderate questions, cold turkey. I'm just going to let him flow. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk through this, and we're going to put this out. And then hopefully the intelligence agencies that are involved with this will just leave me alone, and that's why I have not talked about it for all these years, because I know both sides of this. And so I know how it works. But at this time, there's going to be a big reveal, and a lot of military people are coming forward. And so you're going to hear it anyway, but I'd rather you hear it from me first, from a biblical standpoint, so that you can kind of help process this, because it's the whole idea of this reveal and the holding back until now is to shock you into trauma to where you aren't able to make decisions on your own. You're kind of being coerced through a certain narrative. Do you understand what I'm saying? So they're going to kind of push you. Okay, this is what these are, and this is what's going on, and there is no God. These are your gods, and they've seeded the earth. And you're part of a hybrid race, and they're going to say this stuff. But individuals high up in the military have.
Diane, isn't Hawaii full of volcanoes? The whole island's a volcano, isn't it?
I mean, they've told me that this is not the case. These are from another dimension, and they've been on the earth.
Hey, Mark, good to see you, bro.
They're not from another planet. So anyway, there we go. So anyway, you want to say anything? First of all, I guess the question I have for you is, because you have I think 1 million followers that are mostly youth, right? You have like 1 million followers on your YouTube.
Yeah, a little more about myself. A couple of years ago during COVID, I was laid off from my job. I never did media. I thought it was demonic. And I said, social media is demonic. I'm not touching that. I'm not watching TV. I'm not touching social media. But the Lord told me to get off my couch and just hit the button record on TikTok and YouTube, where I knew all the younger generation was. And I just started speaking the truth. And miraculously, Kevin, it reached souls. And now, 12-year-olds comment, I'm Muslim. Please do not tell my mom, but I can't stop watching these videos. And it's just the Lord. But it really is all ages now. And miraculously, and we've recorded 40,000 salvations of kids commenting, I'm 14 years old, I just gave my life to Christ, please don't tell it. And then we have a how to pray in tongues video, and that's real where things really get. And it's all the please, my dad's a Baptist, please do not, please. And so I just go in even more, don't tell the parents, no.
Okay, so there you have it. So the Lord had called me when I started my Facebook. He told me to register and open an account, and he told me, I want you to own Facebook, is what he said. He said, I want you to take it for Jesus. And so I just post about Jesus 30 times a day. I built the thing by myself, staying up at night, and then I got other people to help me. I hired somebody to start my YouTube channel for me because I didn't. He's one of our first employees, and I said, he said, what do I do? And I said, well, YouTube's next. I'm going to own YouTube. So can you register me and help me open it up? And he goes, okay. So he watched a YouTube channel to learn how to open a YouTube channel and like how to. So like, that's one thing I like about Andrew is when I talk to him, he's like our project manager. So we have projects that are 2 years from now that we're working on now. So everything you see has been for me and him have been working on for 2 years. And one thing about Andrew is so when I call him, he's already, you can already hear him typing and he's contacting people as I'm asking him to do it. He's like one of the most amazing employees because he just there's no wiggle room. He gets it done. He calls the engineers for the property and says, Kevin needs more gravel.
Yeah.
New Maximum Vanilla Slice.
Cue your trusty road trip mobile.
Yeah, Diane, I thought that about Hawaii. I knew it had a lot of volcanoes.
Now cue the insurance it deserves.
I've never seen such an amazing cleaning product. It's just like magic.
This incredible product dissolves oven grease and stubborn mold in.
Are you going to do it, or do I go to your competition, and you're burning daylight, You know what I'm saying? So Andrew opened that YouTube channel, and so then I realized a couple of years ago that I need to do coffee talk, and I need to stop wearing a tie. I need to become a captain, and then be a pilot, and then talk about aerodynamics, and then talk about these things that are happening in our skies and in our houses and around us. And
Boss, that link looks good. I'm going to play that at the end of the stream.
People flipping out and acting weird and no real reason for it. The Lord says you can help people understand this stuff. So let's get into this right now, Gabe. We can. Well, we're going to sit for. Well, I want to stand for a minute because I have a couple of things. I want to show you something that happened to me back in 1988 and 89. I was working for Southwest Airlines, and one of the bosses for another department that I dealt with was ground ops. And so when our plane would come up in Phoenix, we were based there. So we had people that were high up in the departments for aviation, but they also were tied to dispatch, or there's all kinds of departments at an airline. So one of them was ground ops, and that has to do with the people that are around the airplane, supporting it, replenishing it, parking it, helping load and unload. And so we have what we call operation agents, and then we have people that are over the whole umbrella of that. So then you have the mechanics, and so I got to talk to mechanics, I got to talk to the pilots, I got to talk to ground ops. And one of my friends, he was a friend. We kind of started Phoenix together. Phoenix opened up, and I was like the second class that went there during the opening of it, and then he was sent there. So we were buddies. And we only had 29 airplanes, 89 airplanes, 29 cities at the time. And I was employee number, there were 8,900 employees. And so now there's over 100,000, and we'll go to 115 cities. It's really grown. But this guy, he pulled me aside one day, and he told me about this guy. It was his friend that he was hiding in his apartment. Bob Lazar. So I got this photo, he signed it. And my friend, who was his operations agent, was saying, I'm hiding him because he was out at a military base called Area 51 in S4, and he was reverse engineering a craft that they don't know how it really works. And he worked for the Navy, and he worked at Los Alamos, and they've erased everything. So they even erased that he went to the high school he went to, but he has like the pay stubs and things like that. So anyway, I just got this. I got a couple other things signed by him. The guy's the real thing. It ends up that they had erased that he had ever existed. Even his birth certificate was stolen out of his house. So what happened is he realized that people need to know about what he was working on. So that gets into, this has happened to me several times. So it has happened to me with that. It has happened to me with Roswell, where I had actual people that were part of the family that I know. And they told me everything. And they've handled the stuff that was on their property that was not a weather balloon. They said even the cattle today will not go near these spots where it hit and where the bodies were. The animals won't go near it. Okay, so this is somebody in church, Spirit-filled church. This guy's in tears telling me this. And so the same with my friend, who was one of my bosses, and he said, I'm hiding my friend. He said they actually pulled up beside the car, and I have a bullet hole in my car. They try to kill him. Okay, so you understand me, so you can understand. Like with me, I'm like, I'm very fair. I don't like draw conclusions, but you know, you got to remember when I was in heaven, I was shown in a flash all the conspiracy theories, and they were all true. Just so you know, I was shown, and I didn't want to come back. It was a flash with Jesus. I looked back at the earth as I was standing with him. And in a flash, I saw about JFK. I saw about everything you can name. And I knew what had happened, that we had killed him, that the government had done it. Okay, so that just comes out last week. That LBJ gave the kill, and then George W. Bush was the CIA director, and it was the CIA and the mob that did it.
Didn't the Bush try and do Reagan as well? George Bush Sr., I'm pretty sure he tried to do Reagan.
And I even know the names of the people that were involved, and you can too if you look through the thousands of pages. But my point is this, is that I saw when I was in heaven that the control behind the scenes was a lot greater than what the church was aware of. That was my point, right? So I thought, well, what do? We just, so being part of the Assemblies of God and then the Word of Faith movement, I thought, well, we just, the Assemblies of God, their favorite song was Hold On Until He Comes. And then the Word of Faith was get rid of the mountain, speak to it and get rid of it, and so I'm like, well, which is it, And I mean, so I was like, but each group seems to know, want to know how, wants to deal with it in a different way, right? And then all your friends, you talk to all your friends about this stuff, and each one deals a certain way, except for the fact if they have seen something or had something happen to them, then all of a sudden it changes. Everything changes because, like, no, I saw one. I had this happen. And so I brought Gabe because Gabe understands the mentality of teenagers and the kids. And see, that's the ones I'm concerned about. You guys, if I give you enough information, you can process it on your own, and I'm fine with that. You guys are smart. I really credit you as being smarter than even the government thinks you are. Right? You know what I'm saying? In other words, you all are very smart. But with the kids are like, I just want the real thing, and I want it to work. So kids, they just say, I just want the real thing. They want, if God is real, they want to experience him. Wow. They don't want to hear about him. They want to experience God. They want God to interact with them and help. Okay, but do they have that support system in most homes? I didn't. My parents did the best that they could do. And my dad, before he died, he apologized. He said, because we did everything we could do, but it wasn't a
3.6 earthquake, guy. Not as bad as it could be.
No, and we're sorry. And he passed away. But at least he repented and apologized about it. He said, I'm sorry I was so hard on you. That's how my dad was. And I'm thinking, okay. And so that was the last conversation I had with my dad, and he's in heaven. But the thing of it is that, okay, but if I have the Assemblies of God look at it, well, we'll just hold on till he comes. That's neutral at best, right? Okay, so kids are like, well, what can we do? Like, I want to know the truth. So what happened was I found people that told me the truth they shouldn't have, and they got in trouble. Some of them got in trouble for talking to me, and I was told to back down or that I would disappear. And I was told that. I said, the stuff that they kill people for. And these were military people said, you should know this stuff. And who told you this? I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember what the question was. Can you rephrase it? Let's go eat. So kids these days, they're just, I think they're tired of fake. Okay, so if something happened in Roswell, then it happened. So all the questions that we should have are, as Christians, where does this all fit in? Okay, but the thing of it is how many know that the devil doesn't look like the drawings? And he doesn't even have a pitchfork. I mean, the mermaid on your cup does. Well, what's a mermaid? I've seen photos from military of creatures that were mermaids coming up to the boat while they were on a military. So it wasn't nice looking. It wasn't Shamu. It wasn't Barney the dinosaur. It was something hideous, scary. I've seen multiple films. I've talked to people that. Okay, so what is the mentality of kids coming up? What
I've seen footage on YouTube of mermaids, and I was already convinced they exist. But that's pretty impressive. He mentions that they swam up to the Army's boat. That's pretty heavy.
would it be better to just show them the data and let them make decisions on their own, or are we wrong in thinking that, oh, they don't need to know that, they don't need to be exposed to that? It's like hiding things from kids. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead and try.
Yeah.
Type, you know,
they're real inquisitive, right?
kids are smarter than we realize.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a king and a beggar in each person we speak to, and we pull out either one. And concerning kids, there's what we believe of the kid and what we give them the allowance for them to hear is what they'll be able to receive. And you guys would be shocked what kids can receive in 2025. And so I believe the Lord has sent, especially Gen Z, but then Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha are answers to our prayers.
Switch your home loan from a big bank. Save thousands and years off your loan. Thanks to Greater Bank.
Isla.
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 Get relief, get alignment, get good posture. This is the back hero. It's rebel.
I'm telling you, and we need to change the way.
The Ripley's, believe it or not, in the late 1800s, they had a photo of what they had in their museum, and one of them was a mermaid. And the mermaid that you see, I've seen mermaids on other channels where they found mermaids and they show you, and it is a mermaid. They got these big fish eyes. It's not pretty like he said. Like he said, it's not pretty. He's right. They got big fish eyes, and they look hideous. They're not glamorous half-top women. Yeah, they're not like that. They're evil.
We speak about this next generation. I hate to break it to you, but God could be answering your prayers with the kids of this next generation. They could be the hope to the country. There could be a boomerang where, of course, we're living in the end times, but the church is the only force that holds back the Antichrist. You guys hearing me right now? So Kevin, there's a very strong group of kids that are tired of the fake, and they are demanding the truth, and they're gonna find out, you know. Right.
Okay, so I'm gonna show a bunch of things, and do a little bit of talking, and we're gonna have a discussion again here in a couple minutes. You can go ahead and grab a seat or whatever. I got to show some stuff, but we're gonna have a discussion a little bit after I show you. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explain everything. If you want to stay up here with me, you can. That'd be great. I'm just gonna go through these different things. I guess unless you want to sit down, so it's fine with you.
There's a pretty famous one where it's in Israel and someone's looking over a road and there's a big drop and there's rocks at the bottom of this drop, and you see a mermaid, and you see the mermaid turn around and see him and duck into the sea. So there's been a few videos like that.
All right. So what happens is this guy, William McDonald. He was military. He was a Marine, and he was an investigator as well. And he ended up working in detention center in Florence in his retirement. But he was military, trained military. So he was intelligence, and he was connected with a couple other people that were in the intelligence field. So we're talking with where the Marines who work with the CIA and different intelligence agencies to gather information. So you can stay. You explain it. Is that this guy here, Leonard Stringfield? You never heard of him, and I never had heard of him, but he was an intelligence officer that literally gathered all the information on downed craft that we didn't know who they were from. And so he has manuals that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars on Amazon because the government has taken everything off. So I was able to find a couple of different books that are gone, but they were expensive, but I grabbed them. And this guy was completely turned counterintelligence, which means now that he has gathered all this information, he has to lie. He has to literally change the narrative because of his job, right? But he gathered information, and he gave this guy William McDonald a call before he passed. And so they spent a month or two on the phone, and he explained everything that really went on, gave them all the names of the people that he had interviewed on the government side, which would never be released, right? So he gives out all the names. And so you can watch all these videos on YouTube because they came up. And I don't know how long they'll stay up. But the information of the Marine being an investigator and gathering information, he was able to go to 28 people that were at Roswell that worked on all this when it happened and interview them all. And that's where you get everything you got here is based on this guy interviewing deathbed confessions of military people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so 28 people collaborated this whole storyline and narrowed it down to 8 people out of the 28, which if you talk to a cop, that's pretty good. If you know 28 people witness something, if you can get 8 people to agree on this.
Okay, this is pretty boring. I'm jumping off this.
I've just finished online church for this weekend. We had a great time. It was really supernatural because
Hi, I was never here.
I didn't know that
Good to
was
see ya.
healing, and the Lord had me speak
Guys, that last video was a little bit boring, so that's why I changed it.
about supernatural healing. And so it was great.
Actually-
We talked about anti-aging secrets in the Bible, anti-fat, anti-sickness, all these things, and it's wonderful. So if you want to be part of online church, you just go to discoverchurch.online, become a partner, you'll get all those messages. Today, we're just going to do a really brief update because Trump is in a dilemma right now. And I call this update the Trump betrayal because it seems like conservatives have turned on him after the success he had in the Middle East. The liberals can't give him credit for trying to bring peace in the Middle East. The Messianics don't want to give him credit for bringing peace in the Middle East because everything he does is just somehow supporting the Antichrist and not supporting Israel.
Don't worry, I still got to do that Discord thing. I've got it downloaded, but it wants me to sign in to a server,
Enough. And in some ways, I
and I don't know how to do that.
understand where you're coming from, but I just think, hold your horses, hold your horses. Kind of like the tariff, right? Everyone said on the media, they said, oh, the Trump tariff is going to collapse the world economy. And if you just give him a chance, give him a few weeks, it turns out everybody came to him begging for deals. And now America is much stronger. And literally grocery prices are going down as we speak. So normal people who are not fanatics on any ideology are saying, hey, this is good. There's a lot of success going on. But he's in this funny phase right now where it just looks like even if I say things about Trump right now that seems good, I become a Trump apologist. No, I'm just for world peace. And I understand the Antichrist will come, but not everything that you do that is for peace is bad. And I want to explain this in a second, okay? Hi from Finland, hi from New York.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's late night, Oklahoma. But let's do this update. It's Friday night, Saturday morning for some of you, so it's okay. We'll do a late update on this and talk about the Trump betrayal and the Trump dilemma. one thing I think that we can now clearly see from the visit, and I'll show you some of the news headlines, and then we'll go through it. But despite all that the liberal media and the fake stream media has said, Trump clearly is, no doubt about it, he is a peacemaker. And he just has a philosophy that's very simple. You can't make money you can't make money in war if you're in the weapons industry, but ordinary people can't prosper and take care of their family if the nations are at war. So he's trying to do everything that he can to avoid war. And that somehow drives the liberals mad, because they said he was going to be a warmonger and bring war everywhere, and yet he's trying to bring peace. Will this peace last? I know it's not going to last. I know what Bible prophecy says. But you can't say everything that brings peace is from the devil, because let's just read what the Lord Jesus said himself. All right. In Matthew chapter 5, didn't the Lord say this? Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Verse 9, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So we have gone down this path before, and I don't know if you realize this, but the Middle East is going to get strengthened according to the Bible prophecies. The Middle East will come together in a way that they've never come together before. And then in the end, some players in the Middle East will join forces together to make a concerted effort to annihilate Israel. And at that point, the Jews humble themselves, cry out in repentance. They do teshuvah, which is repentance, and then they meet their Messiah, which is
93 billion. That's a lot of money. Wow.
You already know who he is, but they are to find out who he is. Now, who started this? America did. America strengthened. America and Britain. Okay, Britain is basically partners with Qatar in running their oil business and gas business. I think they have the largest gas fields in the whole world, and they have the highest GDP of any country in the world. They have only 300,000 citizens, and they all are sitting on a state, a state-sponsored fund of I think it's over $1 million per capita. That's their state investment fund, kind of like what Singapore has. So how did they get that wealth? Britain partnered with them to create that. Well, how did Saudi Arabia get their wealth? Ronald Reagan, the conservative hero, was the one who did that. Why? Because his plan was to destroy the evil empire, which was the Soviet Union. So you have to pick who's your enemy. He picked the Soviet Union as the enemy. And so to undermine the Soviet Union, he made a pact with Saudi Arabia, which strengthened them, armed them, made their economy strong. This is where we're at today. So you want to say the Antichrist is going to come from every peace deal, then you're going to have to go back in time and blame Ronald Reagan. All right. And I'll give you a biblical perspective about this in a second. But let's give you a quick education, okay, what Ronald Reagan did. To undermine the Soviet economy, he strengthened his American ties with Saudi Arabia in 1981. He made an arms deal with Saudi Arabia to use Saudi as a bulwark against Soviet expansion in the Middle East. He sold to them a controversial $8.5 billion arms package. Okay, I was a kid at that time. I remember he strengthened Saudi Arabia to do this. The CIA, it turns out, approached Saudi Arabia and worked together from 1981 to 1985 to increase oil production. By 1985, due to the Saudi increase in oil production, it lowered the price of oil per barrel by $32, dropped to $10. $32 to $10, since the Soviet has always depended on selling and exporting gas and petroleum. You know, we basically crashed their economy. But there's a gift.
Yeah, they're still in their vast because the poppy fields are in Afghanistan. That's why they're backing the Taliban.
And take by crashing the Soviet economy and breaking down the evil empire, the evil communist empire, we ended up strengthening Saudi Arabia. And so we in Britain have been strengthening those Middle Eastern nations. And will they come together? Yes, they will. Will they eventually, some of them, make a pact to destroy Israel and turn against the Abraham Accords? Yes. And I think Trump knows that there's a risk in doing that. And nevertheless, his heart is to have peace. Okay, is that so bad? Let's take a look at what's going on. I'm going to show you, let's go to, take me to screen 2, thanks. It says here, while most Americans probably didn't even hear President Trump lifted sanctions off of Syria, Syrians are literally filling the streets rejoicing. This is absolutely life-changing news for them, right? They're living in a war-torn country. It's been the dumps for all this time. Damascus has been in ruins, and they're out in the street. Okay, I don't know if you hear all this, but this is, this is on the streets of Syria. How do you feel? I mean, we're angry that we can be angry that ISIS, the former ISIS militants, have become leaders, but in country after country, many ex-military heroes become the leaders of the next administration. Now that Trump has lifted all sanctions on Syria, there is officially no reason for 1 million Sunni Muslim Syrian refugees to remain in Europe. It's time to go back.
Poppy's in Iraq. I never knew that. That might be why they're after Iraq. So, oh, right, not around Iraq. Wow.
Oh, I mean, that's another effect, right?
Well, they own Iraq's poppy fields then.
How are you going to solve the migration problem in Europe? Well, by making a stable Syria, you can solve the problem. And many people would like to go back home. So that's a great way. But of course, there's the risk that you are now shaking hands with a former terrorist. And that's what Messianics and Christians are up in arms about. And it just seems like Trump can't make everybody happy. And I know the feeling. As a pastor, I've been there. I know the feeling. I just think everybody hold your horses, give peace a chance, give time a chance. We know the Antichrist will come, but this is not the time. Diplomacy. All right, so here's an example of the anger from the conservatives. The terrorists that Trump placed a $10 million bounty on is now running Syria. As a result, Trump lifted the bounty, shook his hand yesterday. The Middle East is a tough neighborhood, and the president is setting aside his personal feelings to achieve peace in the region. All right, so a lot of conservatives look at that as betrayal. How dare you? You call, these were ISIS members. They were our enemies. How come they're in power now? Trump's trying to broker peace. He's figuring, he said it in his speech in Saudi Arabia, that many American leaders look at their position as, we're going to morally judge people's sins abroad, and we're going to set it right by our military might. This has not worked. We're going to try an economic route to bring another kind of justice, and that's what he's doing. The UAE is very happy. United Arab Emirates, they said, I guess it's their emir, says the Abraham Accords and the normalization with Israel has enabled us to deliver 43% of the humanitarian aid to Gaza. The next step is to free the hostages. That's what we want.
Wow, so look how he's just crossing over.
Been praying for the hostages to be free. But when the hostages get freed, and we say, Trump says, you need to come and thank me and thank the emirs that have been helping to broker this deal, Messianics and Christian.
Yeah, George Bush Sr., he was known as Poppy Bush because of the poppies he created in countries. He was known as Poppy Bush.
Are up in arms and saying, how dare you ask us to thank our very enemies or the supporters and the funders of our enemies. That's how you make peace, guys. That's how you reconcile. We're not saying they're good people and they're never going to turn bad again, but you're trying to, the goal is stick to the goal, get the hostages out alive. And that's what Trump's trying to do. And now you've got the UAE on his side because they see benefits. America is treating people and countries in a different way, with a bit more respect, with an offer for mutual benefits rather than a threat. I'm going to bomb you to hell. And that's the only thing that we seem to do very well. They agree, no Hamas authority inside Gaza. That's what I said. That's what I said. Turn Gaza into a Christian nation. Turn Gaza into a free nation, right alongside Israel. Is that a two-state solution? I don't think so. So that goes back to more than a year ago now that we talked about that. Trump is a leader we trust. Okay. So there are some positives, obviously some negatives. Here's another post. President Trump enthusiastically introduces Elon Musk to the Emir of Qatar. And this is a humbling thing for all these emirs because they get to meet someone richer than they are. Musk is the richest man in the world right now. So this guy says he loves these two legends representing our country on the world stage. It doesn't get better than this. Okay, so there is a side of diplomacy, making peace, and some people are going to come on board. In the end, strangely enough, all this will play into the ultimate plan of the Antichrist empire. But it's not yet. It's just like you could blame Ronald Reagan for strengthening Saudi Arabia, and that will eventually also set the stage. But God's not going to punish Ronald Reagan for trying to broker peace, right, and trying to defeat communism. So you got to look at things from a moral perspective. If you're doing to the very best of your ability what God mandated you to do, then God rewards you for that, right? And I think, well, let's bring up the example of
Shawnee, I remember he done that. And didn't he also speak about the 1,000 points of light in the same speech, George Bush Sr.? Pretty sure he did.
Jesus, who brought about the horrific crucifixion, the injustice of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ? Who brought about the fact that all the disciples except John, all the apostles except John the Revelator, were martyred in disgusting, horrible ways? They were shot, they were speared, they were crucified upside down, they were boiled alive, they were skinned alive, they were sawn in two alive.
Wow.
Who brought the martyrdom? And who brought the destruction of Jerusalem? If you look at it, Jesus prophesied and said, because you reject me, because of your reaction to me, it's going to come, all of these things. So who set up the very crucifixion that we all think is horrible? It was the Lord Jesus Christ. It turns out, it may be turning out that as we're heading to the end time, it's not the actions of the evil conspirators and the World Economic Forum that's going to bring about the end time and the Antichrist empire. It could very well be the actions of the righteous. The actions of the righteous were in control of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The Romans were involved, the Pharisees were involved, but ultimately, God the Father and God the Son had agreed together that this would be the only way to pay for the sins of the world. And Jesus willingly walked into it. I'm not absolving the responsibility of the Pharisees and Pilate and all the evil people that did the wrong thing. They have to pay for their sins. But in the end, the story was mapped out by the actions of the righteous. And the Lord said this in Luke 19. Let's read this. In Luke 19, he takes responsibility for this, and he says in verse 43, for the days shall come upon thee. Well, let's read in an easier version. For the days will come upon you when your enemies will set up a barricade around you and surround you and hem you in on every side and tear you down to the ground, you and your children within you.
Shawnee, I jumped on this. I don't know what it really is. It's not an atheist site or a religious site. It's just them expressing their hatred on Trump. So me being me, I go in there saying what a great guy Trump is. And they hate me. They call me a fascist Nazi.
And they will not leave one.
But I outverb them, so I make myself laugh.
Stone upon another in you, because you did not know the time of your visitation. So who brought about the destruction of the city of Jerusalem and the temple? Who prophesied it? Who led the way that it would happen? You'd say, well, the actions of the righteous Lord and Messiah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was never here. Me and Shawnee troll sites. Not together, though we should, Shawnee. We should team up. But yeah, we troll sites on Facebook. We get good laughs.
And yet, along the way, because he came, he died for our sins, people rejected him, he prophesied the destructions, they didn't believe him. Because of all those righteous acts and sermons, in the end, they were punished and they were judged, and the Romans came and destroyed. So if you go to Jerusalem today, you don't see a temple on the Temple Mount. How did that happen? You could say the actions of the Lord Jesus paved the way for that to happen.
Yeah.
And yet you wouldn't blame him for saving the world by going to the cross. You wouldn't blame him.
That Wailing Wall, that's got nothing to do with the temple, because when the temple was taken down, every stone was taken down. The Romans are quite specific on that, and they were ruthless like that. So there is no Wailing Wall. It's not part of the temple.
For prophesying the truth and saying, I predict this is going to happen. And he's the only one that predicted it. No rabbis predicted it. So he predicted it, and he was part of the story of how it's going to end, but he didn't cause the bad stuff to happen. In the same way, I think people are misjudging Trump and think that calling him a betrayer of Israel. And I don't think he thinks that at all. I think that if at any point Qatar doesn't play ball, Syria ends up killing Americans or sending bombs to Israel, he'll say to Netanyahu, you know what? I gave it a go, and now I let you
Sure.
loose. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Give him time, like the tariffs, to work it out. Everything the media has predicted about him never happened. They're completely wrong. The Bible is right. We are to be peacemakers and we're to find justice. There's a lot of suffering people in the Middle East, and by finding some justice and bringing them some stability and peace, it's only going to improve things. All right. Unfortunately, it will improve things for the evil actors as well, because they have never been able to unify the way Trump has been able to unify them. This is a new vision that they have. They can unify around money. They can unify around diplomacy. They can unify around normalizing relationship with Israel. They're considering all these things. These are not bad things, but yes, they are steps. Every step we take is a step towards the end time. I understand that. In the end, they will attack Israel. I understand that as well. I'm not ignorant of the prophecies, right? But we want to create peace so that the maximum amount of people have a chance to hear the gospel. Wouldn't you?
Probably is a Roman fort, because what else could it be? I was never here. Good pickup.
Like to fly to Qatar or Syria and be able to freely preach the gospel? I believe Trump is trying to broker that. You can't persecute the Kurds. You can't persecute the who was the other minority group in Lebanon. Anyway, there are all sorts of minority groups that are persecuted, not just Christians. I believe as part of these deals, he's saying you've got to normalize with Israel. You got to stop the hateful rhetoric. You got to stop the discrimination against minorities. In fact, he even made the Kurds in charge of the prisons, I believe, in Syria. So that's no one has been able to even think of that or broker that. And he says, well, the Kurds have the ability to guard the prisons, so let them do it. So he's been welcomed like a hero in the Middle East. People may not appreciate this kind of welcome from the ground. That's how he flew in. No president has received a welcome like that from the United States. That's his entry into Qatar. From Air Force One, this is what it looks like. Take a look at this. It's a beautiful, beautiful scene. Nice to see. Honor, respect. This is the language of the Middle East, and that's what they're according to our president, the American president, Donald Trump. It's a unique time. It's an interesting thing that he's been able to do. But without detractors, there are detractors. So here we go. I'm going to quote a Christian.
Yeah.
I don't know him, but I saw this come up in my feed. So let's read, because I do actually agree with him. I know that he has a point. So his name is Travis Snow. He said, notice how the entire focal point of geopolitics is now in the Middle East. Israel, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Qatar, etc. Why isn't Trump on some grand tour of Europe right now? We know why, because that's not where the action is. And I've said that for years. I've been saying that for 15 to 20 years, trying to tell people, you just are believing a Eurocentric gospel, American-centric gospel. The Bible is going to end up focusing the action in the Middle East. Turkey and Syria and Saudi Arabia and Iran. These are the focal points, and ultimately Israel. And we had all these preachers for years and years selling best-selling books, made millions of dollars doing what? Preaching stuff that was just American culture. Please be careful when you mix up Christianity with a love for America. I love America. I do. I'm one of the greatest proponents for America and for greatest supporters of Trump outside the United States. Before I came here, I am. But I don't mix the message of the Bible and adulterate it or dilute it with just American assumptions and American biases, right? Just because you didn't like China, you don't like Russia, it doesn't mean that's where the Antichrist comes from. The focus is...
That's like Gabe. She wonders why I give America so much attention, but it's where all the action's happening. How can't you give America attention?
It's going to be the Middle East. So he says, and I think rightly, this is all leading to the final Antichrist empire in the Middle East. It's right there, unfolding before our very eyes. Not only does the idea of the Antichrist's kingdom will be, the idea that the Antichrist's kingdom will be a revived Roman Empire centered in Europe, not only does it lack biblical basis, it also causes one to miss the tectonic plate shifting currently underway, which is setting the stage for the fulfillment of all the biblical prophets wrote thousands of years ago. And that's how we know we should read the Bible. It's the only one that said it thousands of years ago. Whoever wrote the Bible knew it. Whoever wrote the Bible used human instruments to inspire the future, to say what the future is going to be. That's why we don't need to trust any other book, read any other book. We don't need the Pearl of Wisdom. We don't need the Book of Mormon. We don't need the Tao Te Ching. We just need the Bible. We need to get back to it seriously. So the tweet continues, Middle East empire emerges, Antichrist takes it over, invades Israel, Messiah returns. It's a good, simplistic encapsulation of the next few things that's going to happen. I think there's a lot more turmoil and renegotiation going within the Middle East. And I think Turkey and Iran will have their own fight. I think Saudi Arabia will be in a position where they're going to end up siding with Israel and not attacking Israel. All that is going to take time to develop. And I think it's just within the next 7 years, really. But it's not happening tomorrow. The Antichrist is not going to invade Israel tomorrow.
That is a good point, Shawnee. It should mind its own business.
Watching the beginning of phase one. How long will it take to fully materialize? No one can say. Well, I just said it. I believe that it's about 7 years. Now it is happening. All right. So you see there a former terrorist. If we go to screen 2, please. You see the former terrorist of ISIS becoming the president of Syria. He's shaking hands with the Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince of Saudi Arabia, who's trying to implement radical, quick, liberal changes in Saudi Arabia, like giving women the right to listen to music outside and drive a car. And these things are new to that culture. So what you see there is it looks like a picture of Trump being used by the devil to bring the Antichrist empire. But you're misreading it. He's just a businessman and he's just making deals. And if the deal falls through, he's always got a backup plan. And he knows what Israel's complaints are, and he knows what the Christian complaints are. And he's not turning his back on Israel, even if people accuse him of that, no more than Ronald Reagan did, okay, by empowering Saudi Arabia back in 1981, 1985. We Christians and Messianics are kind of in a dilemma right now where we have to decide. You can go back to screen 1 if you want to stop looking at that picture. But we have to decide, are we in support of endless wars? Because if we complain about the success of this Middle Eastern tour, that's really what we're siding on. And I understand and I believe fully, without any hesitation, Israel is God's chosen people. Israel is God's chosen nation. I understand.
I completely believe that too.
I absolutely believe Israel has a time, a destiny with God, a rendezvous with the
against the whole world, surely. The whole world encompasses Israel.
Messiah. But we also have to say that Israel is quite a secular nation today, a nation in rebellion against her own Torah and in full rejection and denial of her own Jewish Messiah who came 2,000 years ago. There's no other Jew more famous in all of history than Yeshua HaMashiach. And he was born in Bethlehem, and he was betrayed by a close friend. And he died in martyr's death, like Isaiah 53 says, to pay for the sins of Israel and the world. He did all that, and yet they're in rejection. So you need to understand that we can't just blindly follow everything that every government in the Israeli nation is doing. If they want to have endless war, and right now there's a time to stabilize and normalize relationship between Muslims and Jews, that's a good thing. Blessed are the peacemakers. That's a good thing. And Trump's not dumb. If they betray it, I think the bombs will fly. He'll say, pull the trigger, Netanyahu, and it will go. Romans 11, remember this. While we support Israel unconditionally, we love Israel as a nation. She has a right to exist. She can never be annihilated. She's forever and ever. At the same time, God has other nations he wants to bring the gospel to. He wants to save. And no other president has been able to get the welcome, the reception, and the deals that Trump is getting. So we should pray and support him more and more. Here we go. Romans 11, verse 25. For I would not, brethren, again, I'm reading King James. I'm going to try to give you a simpler translation. Lest you be wise in your own sight, I do not want you to be unaware of this mystery, brothers, a partial hardening, or the King James says, a blindness in part has come upon Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles has come in. It's very good. King James says, blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Meaning what? Exactly what Trump is doing. God wants to gather together all the Gentiles into himself, into one family. And then, of course, Israel will be the head of the nations, and Israel will be the place of the world headquarters of Messiah HaMashiach. Okay, Messiah Yeshua HaMashiach. It's going to happen, right? But he is going to bring about the kingdom. Yeshua is going to bring about the kingdom. Not endless dropping of bombs, not endless fighting and killing and murdering forever. Israel has been supported by this channel and by countless administrations in arms, in prayer, in all of its fighting. And we recognize Israel doesn't start the fight, Israel responds and defends. But right now, God said, it's not your time, Israel. Until when? Until the fullness of the Gentiles. Doesn't that include, ordinary Syrians, Qatari, Saudis, the United Arab Emirates citizens, Bahrain? Doesn't it include people in Oman, Yemen? They need to have time to hear the gospel, embrace it for themselves, and there has to be freedom. There has to be liberalization. So Trump's inserting the first demands that any Western leader has done to say, you want to get rich, you want to make money, you want to trade with America, we're the strongest, richest nation on earth. You have to stop discriminating against Christians and Jews. This is welcome news.
Diane, do you call barbecues cookouts, do you? Not Diane, Shawnee.
This is, wonderful news in my view. You can go to that picture again and just see. You can interpret this picture two ways. You can call that a betrayal against Israel, or you can say, finally, the fullness of the Gentiles, we might actually see it in our generation. And that's going to be a wonderful thing, I think. And I want to be a part of it. I'm going to take you to Saudi Arabia. I'm not preparing for the Antichrist to come by supporting the economy of Saudi Arabia. I'm showing you the ancient lands where Moses walked. We're going to walk the footsteps of Moses. We're going to see the Bible come alive, show you the split rock, Elim, the 12 wells, the 70 palm trees. We're going to show you Mount Sinai where the 10 Commandments were given. That's not against the Bible. It's not pro-Antichrist, please. All right? We're going to live our lives and be a witness for Jesus in every country that seems closed. And you can come. Saudi Arabia is very open. I have a special announcement. We are now, we have settled this. We have so many requests. I'm glad that many of you have waited, and now we can say, yes, we're going to bring you on a tour of Israel, and it's going to be super special because we are going to work together. Pastor Mark Bilt and Pastor Steve Cipollante are going to join forces and bring all of you together to Israel. That's going to happen in October. I believe it's October 19. Is that right? October 19. We're going to put the link in the YouTube description below, and Facebook and X, all of that. We'll get you the right link inside. I believe it's there. And yeah, sign up. October 19 to October 30th this year. We're going to take you back to Israel. It's been a while, so I do love Israel.
Yeah, Vas, I had the same trouble with Discord. It wants me to sign into a server, and I don't exactly know what that means, so I'm going to get Gabe to look into it. But I'm having trouble as well.
And we've been going year after year until COVID came, and that stopped it, but we're finally getting back. We're also going to take you to Turkey. Turkey is a wonderful place. There are more tourists who go to Turkey and more tourism in Turkey than in Australia and Canada. So somebody asked, is Turkey safe? Well, is Canada and Australia safe?
My brother went to Turkey, and he said they're the most beautiful people. Hard to believe, but that's what he said. And he's been around the world a fair bit.
Turkey is pretty safe. Otherwise, it wouldn't be one of the top tourist destinations in the world. Like anything else, there's possible crime, possible, theft. So you have to follow the leader when you come on tours. Listen to the guide, listen to me, and we'll have the grace of God covering us. Praise God. So that's the announcement. We're going to Israel, going to Turkey, going to the Middle East. We'll go to Saudi Arabia next year in February 2026. Deposits are open. I don't know why somebody said that the European cruise was full, but I think we can get you in if you still have a desire to get to Iceland, Norway, Netherlands, all of that. Beautiful cruise. Check it out. If somehow it says it's closed, email us, email me. We'll try to find you a cabin. Maybe it's finished. I don't know, but I don't think so. I think we can find you a cabin if you have that on your heart. Just pray about it. And the last thing, I want to mention this because what you didn't get today, for the past hour, we were worshiping, we had communion, we had online church. That's my community, that's my spiritual family. All over the world, we get together in online church. And that's where you get the pastoral messages. So you can't decide what Discover Ministries is about just by watching end time updates on YouTube, okay? We run a normal church. We believe in the Holy Spirit, healing, miracles, wonderful things happen, relationships,
Amen,
discipleship.
Steve.
We have all that. But one thing that we were talking about, and it was so strong that God wanted us to talk about this, was health. Biblical advice on health, and specifically anti-aging, the best anti-aging advice in the Bible. And I gave
Yeah, I had the same problem, Bas, the server.
something like 9 or 10 things. That I have probably 20 things that I can share, but that's for the online church. But I was reminded as I was teaching that, I was thinking about it, you know, America is the fattest country in the world. It's a big health issue. And I remember our friend, Brandon Biggs, said in the end times, it was shown that people who are obese or have diabetes and some other disease, they're on these drugs, right? They're on these prescribed drugs. And some virus is going to be engineered and unleashed that will attack or bind to the very receptors or the chemicals that are in these drugs. So as people become more and more dependent on these things, they're going to be very susceptible to the next plague. And that's what I'm concerned about. So I was praying about that. And honestly, I'll tell you the truth. I've never been fatter in my life. I've lost, I think, a couple of kilos now, but I was getting weight on me just by moving to America. So I prayed to the Lord. I said, between Brandon's prophecy, my feelings, and my own health, and then for the sake of the people who are living in the fattest country in the world, I need a solution. So I had a pastor call me. He gave me an awesome solution. He's had success with it. It's a technology. It's a breakthrough. So I thought, I'm going to share that with my online church members and see how it goes. But we're concerned about that. And so I don't touch anything chemical. I don't like it. I like natural. Even as a breakthrough, I want it to be natural things. And I've always been as natural as possible. I believe nature, is as close as we can get to God. If you go to synthetic stuff, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, some of you are dependent, and it's up to you what your doctor tells you. But I stay away from that. I haven't had a Panadol in all my life. I haven't had a Tylenol. I haven't had any of these chemicals in my body. My body is natural. I stay pretty healthy, travel all over the world. I have high energy, clear mind. How do we do that? I share with the online church many things the Bible advises, and many things that the world is seeing and their breakthroughs. And people in the world are talking about it. I noticed Tony Robbins has become instead of a motivational speaker to get people building businesses, he's now talking so much about health. Health is your wealth. But the stuff that Tony Robbins does, some of it is good, but it's expensive stuff. He has his personal doctor. He has his own personal red light room. He sits in red light, getting that low intensity red light. I'm sure that's very healthy. I've started doing some of that. But how many people are able to afford $100,000 or $150,000 personal pod? So I want to look at what the Bible says and talk with our church about prepping before any kind of virus like that comes. So that's an announcement that I think is worth anyone joining a Partners Club or online church. Come and talk about that. So we talk about our tours, we talk about health, we used to talk about crypto a lot when people were not so familiar with it. Now a lot of our Christian friends are involved in that and doing very well. People are happy with that. So we don't give financial advice. I'm just telling you what the Bible says about each of these topics. And I was saying crypto is not going to immediately pave the way to the digital mark of the beast. That was the fear way back in 2017. I said, no, it's just another step. You can sit it out and just miss out, or you can jump in and maybe, benefit from from a new kind of investment. Just don't put all your life savings into anything, please, please, please don't do that kind of stuff. And as I will say, as I close with, I talked to one of our a couple of our online members actually have this issue. You're dealing with wealth, you're dealing with who to give, what to give, how to give. You know, at the very least, please write a will. Write a will and decide those things and make it clear. All right. Hopefully, Discover Ministries is a part of your will, but you need to set it up for yourself and your family so that there's not going to be conflict and fighting if and when you were to pass away before the Lord comes. I just think that's common sense. I always tell my church members things like this. So I'm going to check your last comments before we go. We've had a 35-minute short update. I think that's as fast as we can do an update on Trump's betrayal and the dilemma that conservatives and liberals seem to have.
Okay, not sticking around with the questions. Which one's older? This one.
Well, some information, of course, on you and I. Got a few amazing stories to cover in this video, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We got this new report out regarding Kroger and Walmart. You're going to definitely want to hear this about them having so much details and information, of course, on you and I. You're not going to believe it. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into a number of other stories as well. We have also something happening with the sun, where apparently something that hasn't happened in decades is happening right now with the sun. It's kind of strange. We'll get into that. We got this volcano off the west coast that I talked about on my other channel that is about ready to blow, and it's basically off under the water, and it's about a mile wide. And we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to get into also a number of other stories.
Mike from around the world spoke about that the other day. Remember, guys? The volcano underwater.
We have a really huge story also that just broke about 3 hours ago. That's going to confirm a lot of stuff that we've been saying for years. All right, let's just get into this. We'll start here with a story we have here. Apparently, a number of confirmations of things that we've thought for years. We have here, apparently, this just came out 3 hours ago. Apparently, Obama and that other lady right there were running, apparently, that one house, of course, in D.C. with Joey in it, right? Yeah, so apparently he was very involved. This guy was on camera admitting to this unwittingly, of course. And this just came out 3 hours ago. And it's something that we've been thinking forever, right? A lot of people are thinking, well, maybe that's what's going on.
Wow.
It kind of makes sense, don't it? Well, apparently
So Obama and Hillary were running Joe Biden. Doesn't that make sense?
we have some evidence now that is indeed the case. Walmart. We have here Walmart's big grocery companies like Walmart and Kroger are doing extensive tracking of customers. They're even developing customized pricing for customers. They use loyalty programs and store tracking and facial, of course, recognition. Now, remember they were proposing putting these digital price labels on items, and then if you went into the store at a certain time of the day, or if it recognized who you were, it would change the price based on how you look, based on your age, based on how much money they think you have or know you have. I thought that was kind of interesting. Of course, on top of that, they found out that wasn't very popular. They put out a news story, a couple news stories, wasn't well received. Let's just put it that way. Then, of course, they started coming out with some other stuff. Well, how else can we make some extra money here? Oh, let's blame the president and his tariffs for raising prices right before everything's fixed. That's a great idea. Of course, they did that. We covered that. And I'm going to get into that a little bit and show how ridiculous that is and how it's just a complete ruse. Then, on top of that, now they're trying to charge this basket fee at Walmart if you don't buy $35 worth of items like you do on Amazon. And of course, you don't have a delivery truck when you go to Walmart. You just literally park, someone pulls all the items together, comes out and puts it in your trunk, right? Well, apparently they want to charge you a delivery fee for them coming out now. Well, I mean, it's insane. Why are they doing all this? Of course, they're trying to blame it on tariffs. The tariffs are over. He's already made the deals with China. So what are you talking about? It has nothing to do with food. Although they're trying to sort of walk that back now, like, oh, maybe it wasn't what we said. You know, they tried to act like they didn't say it when they did. And of course, they're using
Shawnee, Joe Biden could barely walk, let alone run.
facial, recognition now. And it's just kind of ironic because I feel like their new systems, their cameras, their AI in their cameras are just smart enough to screw everything up and dumb enough to let everything get by, right? You've seen all these videos on TikTok and on
Diane, sounds like that church should mind its own business, to be honest.
X where people trick it. They'll take like a Kool-Aid pack and they'll have the bigger item. They'll put the Kool-Aid pack UPC on the scanner, tricking it. It doesn't know it was tricked. But then, of course, at the same time, it's dumb enough to get all your information, your data, everything, which, of course, what could happen? Maybe a breach or something like that. So it's like a sophisticated moron running things, and they're not willing to actually invest real time to make something that works instead, or hire people. Instead, they want to kind of be cheap about the whole thing and just kind of go forward with it. Now, with regards to Walmart, they're speaking out on the basket fee that has made a comeback and affects all shoppers, those that go and park to get their groceries brought out to them, right? If it's under $35, this sounds just like Amazon. This isn't Amazon, this is Walmart, right? $7 fee for them to come out. Okay, so I'm guessing a lot of people don't usually have under $35 when they park like that anyways, but it's just kind of funny that they're bringing out these extra fees all of a sudden. And of course, they're now walking back what they said about 2 weeks ago about trying to blame tariffs and everything else for their price increases.
Yeah.
But you have the Walmart CFO coming out 3 days ago, says price hikes from.
And Diane, look at the policies they brought in on Biden's behalf. That was treasonous. That should be done for treason. Apparently, that auto pen thing where Biden pardoned all the villains, apparently it's an auto pen and it doesn't count. If that's true, I'm telling you, Trump will lock them up. There's no way around it. Trump will lock them up. If they're stupid enough to use an auto pen that don't mean anything, he's going to go after them, I think, anyway.
Tariffs could start later this month. As retailer beats on earnings, meaning they made a ton of money. What are they talking about? Of course, I think what's really going on here, let me just explain what I think they're really doing. This is a marketing ploy. So they want to blame or pass the buck for the blame for why the prices are going up. In reality, what's going on, I talked about this before. Walmart's been complaining about the fact that people just go to the store and buy food, and they don't go and buy TVs or vacuums or whatever they sell in addition in their store. Of course, their food is a lost lead, meaning they don't make any money off the food. That's why they're complaining. They want you to buy everything else in the store, but everybody's broke right now because, of course, we're still waiting for this economy to fully turn around, right? We don't have the jobs here yet, even though all these tariffs are bringing the jobs back. So everyone's broke pretty much. No one's buying anything else in the store but food, and they're upset because they're not making any money, although they are making money because they beat their earnings. So it's kind of funny. They're like trying to really make some extra earnings here. So what are they going to do? They're going to price hike on those vacuums and TVs, even though the ones on the shelves are not the ones that came from those 2 weeks where there were tariffs. And then on top of that, once the tariffs end, which they've already done, they're going to just keep the high prices. And in that way, they're able to blame the president and at the same time make more money. That's what I think they're trying to do. And of course, in this clip, he pretty much makes that clear. But this is the CEO. So the CFO and the CEO came out. Obviously, this is marketing. The fact that they came out and talked this way. It's interesting that they're interviewing Batya here. She's actually really good when it comes to this stuff about the working class and getting jobs back here in America. But So, of course, now that the tariffs have already changed, there's a 50% surge in container bookings. Actually, some are saying it's even more than that. So there's already a ton of new orders coming in already after the tariffs have already been fixed. And of course, pointing out some hypocrisy here, grocery prices are actually down the most in 5 years, yet Walmart's increasing their prices. At any rate, so we're going to get into, like I said, a ton of stuff in this video. I'm going to talk about the sun. Something strange going on with the sun right now. We're going to get into actually a ton of other stuff. A strange, mysterious radio signal that came out, Russia, that is from the Cold War, that just went off not that long ago. We're going to get into actually a number of other stories and things as well. First, I got to mention food supply, and actually we have a huge story that just got broke 3 hours ago, and you're not going to believe it. It's awesome. First, I'm going to mention food supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 3 months worth for $4.97. You're going to definitely want to get this if you have not already. It is the lowest price they've ever had, and of course, with all the stuff that's going on around us, you never know what's next. It's always wise to be prepared for whatever may come. $500 for 3 months of food. You can't even get $500 worth of food for 1 month's worth of food at Walmart. So link is in the description for that. Also, of course, if you're interested, we are offering 150 shares for Noah VR. We added 150 shares, but also increased the profits. So if you've already invested in the game, you're actually going to make more money now. And also, if you wanted to add more shares, you can do that as well. There's 150 new shares, $400. You'll gain 33% of the profits when the game releases. Link is in the description for that, and also for the food supply, and also this book here, The Lost Ways. My great-great-grandfather lived without electricity. You're going to definitely want that before. And actually, like we just had 2 weeks ago in Europe, the power went out there. And also about 5 days, 6 days ago now in UK. So wise to be prepared for that. $37, get the printed version. Link is in the description. Of course, now let's get over to the story here about the sun. Check this out.
Hey everyone, geophysicist.
Q, a winning team. Q, the insurance teammate. Q, the local businesses. QBE Insurance, insuring Australian businesses, big and small.
Take a look inside Haagen-Dazs made icons where only the best will do, combining rich cream, luscious buttery caramel with crunchy brittle pieces. Et voila, the ice cream on ice cream.
Okay, that does look like good ice cream, I've got to admit. Oh, ads, come on.
I love pork. That is no mystery. The mystery for me is why some of you don't. ¿Por qué?
The King Living mid-year sale
bloody
is
hell.
on now. Save up to 50% on Australian.
This is Stefan Burns here. There is something that is incredible happening with our sun right now, something that perhaps we have not seen in decades. And there is some data to support that. The sunspot number has plummeted. It's dropped.
You can see how dark it is there.
If you look at the historic,
wow,
that is highly anomalous. If we look at the most recent record going back,
wow, they could bring in them 3 days of darkness people are on about. Look how big the big black gap is in the sun. Wow.
Late 1950s, early 1960s.
So you're talking a long time ago, a very long time ago. And of course, it makes you wonder what's going on here. He says the sun has dramatically changed. He shows some pictures here to give you some examples, and it looked a lot larger. That black area looked a lot larger than what we're seeing now. You can see how much it's moved and changed, and it makes you wonder what's going on with the sun.
Yeah, doesn't it?
I think he gets into some of that here. You might want to go check out his channel, Stefan Burns, and check out his latest video that he streamed 3 hours ago. Or actually, by the time you watch this, might be like 5 hours ago or something. Getting on to the next story. This is rather interesting as well. Mile-wide underwater volcano ready to erupt on the West Coast. This has been going viral over the last few days.
I like bacon, Bas. I got to admit, I like bacon, and I like crackling as well. But the actual pork, I'm not a big fan on.
There was a couple of videos that went viral on TikTok talking about the fact that we have this underwater volcano that's about ready to blow, and it's right off the coast of Oregon and Washington. And of course, they tell you it's not going to do anything. This is what some outlets are saying. But what's interesting is it's right on between two plates where you have plate tectonics going on, right? And it could easily cause something to happen. Obviously, it says that it's going to cause 10,000 earthquakes. I don't know how 10,000 earthquakes is nothing. That sounds like a lot in one day. It says it'll make 10,000 earthquakes in one day. Then on top of that, it reminded me of that movie 2012, where you had the scene where California starts going into the ocean, of course, because it's right there on a ridge as well. It's a connected ridge to this ridge where this volcano is. It's not the exact same ridge, but it's connected directly. And it makes you wonder if that could affect that.
I saw that.
Could you have something like that happen where part of California's...
Diane, I saw that. He was a white guy. If he was Muslim, they would have put him on the jihadists, but he's a white guy.
Sinks or something into the ocean because this thing goes off. It's a mile wide, obviously not small. It's not a super volcano, but it's actually close, just under a super volcano. So I don't know how that could be a nothing burger, but apparently they're saying some outlets are saying that it could be a real big issue, and some are saying it's a nothing burger. So I don't know how you can come up with the concept that it's a nothing burger. That sounds completely insane to say that, especially considering what happened in 2022 when we had a tsunami from one of these volcanoes going off. But also we have this story here: Russia chilling doomsday radio station. The Buzzer wakes up and sends 4 cryptic messages in 24 hours. Now, this was a Soviet era radio that would talk and give out cryptic messages for military, of course, mobilization, things of that nature. Kind of strange, considering the fact that right now our president is going to have a call tomorrow with the Vladmeister, Putin, about stopping the war in Ukraine. So the timing seems very bizarre. It makes you wonder what it's all about, right? I'm not sure what it is. Maybe I don't think it's really nothing, but it makes you wonder, right? I don't know, man. But we also have this other story we have here. Apparently, a number of confirmations of things that we've thought for years. We have here, apparently, this just came out 3 hours ago. Apparently, Obama and that other lady right there were running, apparently, that one.
I don't mind pork rinds either, but when they're hot, they're nice there. If you take them off a roast leg of pork, you get the crackling off that.
One house.
But I do love the rinds you buy in the shops, in the chip bags.
Of course, in DC, with Joey in it, right? Yeah, so apparently he was very involved. This guy was on camera admitting to this unwittingly, of course. And this just came out 3 hours ago. And it's something that we've been thinking forever, right?
I thought Hillary Clinton and the Obamas didn't get on.
A lot of people are thinking, well, maybe that's what's going on.
Oh, that was a ruse. Fair enough.
But we don't know. It kind of makes sense, don't it? Well, apparently we have some evidence now that is indeed the case. Then we had, of course, this clip that's going viral everywhere from Tim Pool, where he had on Adam Conover. Well, apparently he is some sort of comedian, and apparently has been believing something for 10 years that's just completely false. Check this out.
It's all of these hoaxes. The very fine people hoax.
I mean, I remember the line. Yeah, they're
never called these fine people.
He said there were very fine people on both sides.
Except.
So apparently he believed it. He still believed it. Let's check out more.
Totally.
He said that.
Holy shit.
This is from 10 years ago, man. This has been debunked like a decade ago, and he still believed it. Almost a decade ago, and he still believes it. That's how ridiculous some of the I don't know, programming is out there. You know, where they don't retract things, and it's just like on page 50, no one ever sees it, and everyone continues to believe something that wasn't true for a decade, and finally gets on Tim Pool's show and is revealed that he completely didn't know what he's talking about. It's just kind of amazing how that happens. Then, of course, we have this clip here. This is from Wes Huff. Apparently, he was on Andrew Schultz's show, Flagrant, talking about the gospel. Check this out.
Is to believe in this one person,
Yeah.
who will then, through that belief, convince you to do the good and kind acts that you were already doing prior.
Yeah.
I can see how that's like a heavy weight for people to take on.
I would say there's this dichotomy.
And keep in mind, I'm framing this as someone who was not raised religiously and does feel like a good person. And I think there's
He's saying, like, if you're like a really bad person, you've done a lot of bad things, it's much easier to accept that you are a bad person and that you need someone to save you. This is what he's saying. But he says if you're doing regular good stuff in your life and you're not really that bad of a person in his mind, then why would you need this? This is what he's saying.
there's been this part of me. I think there's probably this part of me that's quite naive.
He looks like a 70s porn star, that Mo.
Definitely based on your description, which is that, you know what? Because I do believe in something. I'm like, yeah, God knows my heart, and you know, I try to live. What is Pascal's wager? Like, and I try to live as if there is a God. And I try to do the things that are good in the world, and
That's ironic that he said Pascal's wager, because the whole point with Pascal's wager is that the whole point is that you would need to accept God or Jesus, because what if you're wrong? So the whole point is that if you're an atheist and what if you're wrong, there's a lot of potential penalty or bad things that could happen to you because you don't believe. But if you believe there is a God and you try to live right and you have faith in Christ to be saved, which of course your works can't save you. I guess I have to say that, but I think you know what I'm saying. The point is that if you believe this, then there's a mighty potential benefit if it's true. And if it's not true, there's nothing really bad that happens because you'll just be dead, right? So the whole point is that, like, logically, if you're an atheist, you have a lot more to lose than if you're a believer. Because if you're wrong, you can end up in a very fiery place or whatever, right? That's basically the idea. But the fact that he said that, it's kind of odd because, you know, he says you don't believe.
are probably prescribed to me through religion in some way, shape, or form. But it would be tough for me to accept this. And I don't think that I'm perfect in any way. I do actually accept the fact that there is like sin in me and there are these, and I'm fighting those natural instincts. But the only way I can be good is if I'm just like, that guy, like,
so it's not that that's the only way you can be good. And it's not simply that you're a piece of shit. I think if it was that, then I think we would have a problem. I think what the Bible says, particularly in that creation story, right, is that you are created with purpose and meaning and intention, and it is good. You actually bear the image of God, and there's something about that is special. So in one sense, you're more of a piece of shit than you can imagine, but also you're more loved and more capable of amazing things than you can.
That's amazing. I think he actually reads Dr. Michael Heiser because he talks about that, about how we're made in his image, and that this is a very important factor.
Imagine. And that's the dichotomy of Christianity, is that God does not need to create, right? So God lives in a set of living, loving relationships in the Trinity. He has existed eternally in relationship and in love. But that's what John says in 1 John. God is love. And so God does not need to create in order to experience anything. Creation is an outpouring of his love. Now, this is different than, say, a Unitarian monotheistic faith like Islam. In Islam, in one sense, philosophically, God does need to create to experience love, because love requires an object and a subject. And so in order to feel love,
that's funny.
The Unitarian God of something like,
so he's using this as an argument against this whole thing that there's only one God, and then they say that there's three gods in Christianity. But the fact that you have three in the Trinity, then they all are in a familial relationship and show love to each other. This is what he's saying, and this actually is a sort of a philosophical argument that God would need people if it was
It's
this
low
one.
IQ.
It's kind of interesting. But at any rate, so he goes on. I don't want to play a ton of the show because I don't know how they treat copyright. So you get the idea, though.
Velocity members save up to 40% off selected products at Snooze. Plus, for a
former president.
Okay, this one's only 4 days old, guys.
Oh yeah, and a lot of details in that regard we'll get into, and we're going to talk about also some other things. We're going to get into some movie stuff as well, and some other things with what's going on with the economy and Target and Walmart, all that kind of stuff. Let's just get going here. Let's start with this. Here we have Katy Perry. Ever since she went on that Blue Origin space ride, she's come back, or maybe she hasn't come back. I don't know. Maybe this is an alien that replaced her. Not quite sure, but we do have a lot of very bizarre clips of her, and it's a plethora. Okay, I'm only going to show you a fraction of them, and there's like 4. That's just a fraction. There's like so many of these. You're like, what the hell's going on with this lady? All right. Like, look at this choreography. Oh my goodness. It's just horrible. Like, I think I could do a better job. I literally think I could do a better job. I can't dance. I can't do acting, nothing. And I'm pretty sure I could do a better job than her. So honestly, I don't know how she get this big of a crowd at these different venues. I'm not quite sure.
Night, Phil. Night, Phil. God bless, bro.
Jumping jacks. Literally jumping jacks. I can do jumping jacks. I think I can still do them. I'm getting up there in age and not the best shape. I'm not like I was when I was younger. All right. Not like I was when I was younger, but I'm pretty sure I can still do those. All right. You got this clip. Look at this one. She's running. She's got that pace going, you know, and oh my goodness, look at this. Wow. That's some real talent there. That's some real talent. I don't know. There's also some other unique. Oh my!
Running like that, she'd have no breath. So I bet she lip syncs.
Goodness, even gets worse. It gets worse, man. Like, is she, taking, of course, something before some of these concerts? I don't know. It's a good question to ask. Now this one, again, this is literally at her concert. Okay, this is literally at her concert. I don't even know if I want to show this. It's really that bad. Okay.
Show it.
Yeah, I already saw enough. All right. Okay. That was one of her concerts. Okay. This is the kind of stuff she's putting out now. Ever since she got back from that joyride into space, if you could call it that, on the Blue Origin rocket, that giant, of course, strangely shaped thing that she flew up into space in. Oh my goodness gracious, dude. But then there was this just came out a couple days ago, actually about 4 or 5 days ago. Look at how she's holding this lady. Very bizarre. What's going on there? I don't know. Very strange. At any rate, so you got that. I just wanted to kind of give you an update on Katy Perry because I'm sure you guys all wanted to know what's going on with her.
Hi, Shawnee. God bless.
Maybe an alien took over when she went up into space. They just kind of got abducted while they were up there at the Kármán line, and some other beings came in her place that doesn't know how to act, doesn't know how to dance. I don't know. People are still paying her though. I don't know what's going on, man. This world is the Twilight Zone. Of course, you remember this clip from, what was this? Back in February. You had Tom Hanks on a game show, and he didn't want to shake the host's hand. He's wearing one of those red hats, of course, trying to say that we're all like this. We had Bill Maher comment on this recently when he had Jillian Michaels on. And it was kind of interesting what they had to say. Check this out.
I've met Tom Hanks a couple of times, and he was very kind and very lovely, and his wife was exceptionally lovely. But when he was on Saturday Night Live,
I hated it too, and I said it on my show. I know.
What?
I hated it. Wearing the MAGA hat, not shaking hands with a black person. And that's when I thought, you people don't know MAGA people.
No.
I mean, they have their issues, and I certainly have my issues with them, but they're general. I mean, of course, there's some racists everywhere who are that bad, but generally, all the MAGA people I know have.
Hasn't this guy turned the other way now? I'm glad he did.
No problem shaking hands with the black.
Of course. It's so ridiculous. They're still playing this like something that they could maybe sort of, I don't even know if they could sell it ever. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to sell something that's just simply not true at all. You know, for a little short time, maybe like 10 years ago, they could kind of sell it. Not 10, but a little bit less than 10. They could sell it to some of the people that watch the mainstream media, right? But anymore, no one believes this stuff anymore. Getting over this whole Diddy court case, we got some crazy stuff to get into with regards to that. Diddy's bodyguard says there are tapes of politicians at some, of course, these parties. It claims the rapper learned this, I guess, technique from other music moguls. So this is something that's been handed down to the Didmeister. And apparently he's not the first one. So this seems to be something with a little bit more deep history to it. And of course, we have comedian Eddie Griffin says that Diddy is going to be a dead, of course, man. Won't leave prison alive after his arrest. This is what comedian Eddie Griffin had to say recently on an interview. He talks about a number of other people as well, R. Kelly and others.
I've been following that P. Diddy thing. I missed out when I went to hospital for 2 weeks, but when I tuned in, he's gone. Just on what I've seen, he'll never get released. Yet apparently they offered him a plea bargain just before trial, and they offered him 15 years with 10 on the bottom, and he didn't take it. He took it to trial. From what I've seen, he's gone for life.
In the interview. Now, of course, what's interesting is now there's some new information that came out today, or was it? Actually, it was yesterday, regarding our former president here, the Barackmeister. We'll call him that. How's that sound? Name came up during testimony in the federal trial against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. His former personal assistant testified. A-list partygoers were taking, of course, pills that apparently had his.
Wow, Vast. I'm going to be. Oh, man, that looks really good. I can't wait to watch that. Getting kicked off the moon.
You know, face on them. What? Right? He also claimed to take, ecstasy at one of these parties, which Diddy allegedly filmed and later used. He says that he wasn't present at these parties, according to the testimony. But there's others that are saying the exact opposite. We have here one person, Suge Knight. Is that how you say his name? We'll get into that in a second here. Here's actually the shape of how it looked. What in the world, dude? And everyone's talking about this right now, that they were shaped like his face. And like I said, we're going to get into a ton of stuff in this video. We're just barely getting started. First, I'm going to mention Food Supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description. 3 months worth for $4.97. You definitely want to get that if you have not already. Considering all the things going on around us, you never know what's next. It's the lowest price they've had ever. It's about the price of 1 month's worth of food, and you get 3 months worth. And link is in the description for that. Also, this book here, The Lost Ways, how your great-great-grandfather lived without electricity, how to build a cellar, do things around the house like they did it in the good old days. Hundreds of pages illustrated. You definitely want to get that if you have not already, because you never know when the power is going to go out. It's $37 plus shipping. Get the printed version. You have here, of course, it was just revealed in the Didi trial that former, of course, president used to meet with a man that used to pick up some of his goodies. These goodies right here. And confirms he met with the Obameister and other former presidents. Oh, so there's more than one.
Yeah, pizza and hot dogs. Whichever you, if you ordered a hot dog, it meant, I won't say what it meant a little kid. Yeah. And one was the sex of the kid, and the other one was how old, something like that.
Apparently. The hole just got deeper than we ever imagined. And here is some of the context from the court trial here. He met
Franklin Graham. He went to that donut shop for boys that ended up getting done for trafficking. He went there and took a selfie of it.
With a lot of people, yes, even former presidents, the S on the end. So some are saying, some are speculating on who the other ones were, but this is one of them that was specifically mentioned. The Barackmeister, as I call him. What was your understanding would have happened if you hadn't done these things? Objection sustained. So, of course, that didn't go any much further on the what was being said there. We do have this former video where they're hanging out, and Diddy even kind of, I wouldn't say he slams him, but he says he's better than him, or he says he's cool. He's kind of just making a joke a little bit because apparently former president here was getting sweaty, and so it's just kind of interesting. It's almost like he seemed like he thought he was the better man or had more dominance. That's kind of strange. He's not even the president, and he had this much sway. That's a little strange. You have here, of course, this is an interview. Michael, and this is a guy, he's a former mafia guy, Michael Franzese. Is that how you say his name? We have here,
Vast, I've never seen that video.
Interviewing Suge Knight from prison. Check this out.
Sugar Knight. Why can't he read that?
You think Obama had anything to do with any of these parties that he had?
Absolutely.
Wow.
You got presidents, you got preachers. T.D. Jakes is one of the biggest black preachers around that everybody loves. Everybody in prison, if they try to get the word of religion, they're not going to the chapels nowhere. They're turning to watch T.D. Jakes. He had to resign from his whole conversation.
When I first turned Christian, I watched T.D. Jakes, and he told a story about when he was getting out of witchcraft or something. Then I seen him a month later say the same story, but he changed it a lot. So I knew he was a liar, and I knew he was no good.
That's
yeah,
right.
He just resigned right when the court case, just around the time the court case came out.
You talking about the top of the top.
And it's more than one preacher, by the way. We'll get into that in a second. There's actually allegedly 36 to 38 preachers that went to these parties. But Diddy, or T.D. Jakes, actually was the biggest one, from what I understand. What is this? Okay, he says that he was an informant since the 90s. This is what Suge says, if that's how you say his name. Look at all these things he was able to.
Didn't Obama's chef die in mysterious circumstances about 6 months ago? Pretty sure he did. He drowned in 2 foot of water, apparently.
He'd do all these things and nothing happened. One of his friends was convicted and nothing happened to him. The president pardoned him. So he's talking about one of Diddy's friends was pardoned. And then he goes on to say what we just heard there. So you also had Suge being interviewed. Suge Knight, is that how you say his name? I don't know. Whatever.
Say it, Suge Knight.
I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Being interviewed by Patrick Bet David here. Check this out.
Got it. So you're saying Diddy's an FBI informant, and he's been one for many years.
How would they say? Nothing ever happens, but it's still like they say, hey, it ain't my
Yeah, that's the doggy crying.
business. Well,
His mum's gone to the shops.
Anybody else gaffeled up quick, fast, and hurry. But you know, the most important thing about this is that with me, you got some people who have a opinion on something either they weren't a part of or they weren't there.
So he confirmed there that he said the same thing that he said on the other show. So, and what was this? I had another one here. Oh no, this was the same interview I just played a minute ago. Okay, so then we have, of course, Bishop T.D. Jakes steps down from mega church, hands leadership to daughter and son-in-law back on the 1st of this month. And I can't remember when exactly the trial started, but it was around the same time, maybe a little bit after this. I can't remember. But Bishop T.D. Jakes announced he will be stepping down and handing
Yeah, he ran over a guy, didn't he, and killed him.
leadership of the Potter House Church, a non-denominational Christian church, to his daughter and her husband. On Sunday, Jakes, 67, announced that his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts, and son-in-law, Tudor Roberts, will take over the church, which he founded in 1996. He made the announcement during an emotional sermon. So, of course, he never said he did anything wrong when he was at Diddy's parties. But he did step down, and this isn't the first minister of recent to step down. Oh my goodness, we've had a million of them. And I'm not here to, and actually I'll do a video soon here about, like, there's a ton. There is a ton. Like half of those at the top have stepped down recently, pretty much. It seems across the board. It's not just prosperity dudes or charismatic. It's like Calvinist. It doesn't matter. Like all across the board, stepping down because they're knee deep in something they shouldn't be into, doing bad things. I'm guessing Paula White will also eventually find herself in trouble. This is just my guess. She's the head of the faith office for our president. Here she is hanging out with two people that are in the midst of a scandal trial of their own. Joni Lamb hanging out with leaders from the, what are they called? Daystar Network, TV network, where they got some big scandal going on as well right now. And I'm not trying to get into all this. I mean, there's like literally a million of these guys. Dr. Michael Brown 3 weeks ago, like just every week there's a new one. So that's why I have to do a comprehensive video on it. But getting back to the whole thing with the Didmeister, you have here this minister talking about how there were actually 36 preachers, not creatures, preachers that went to, of course, these parties. Maybe I should just say creatures instead. I don't know.
Hearing about this thing with P. Diddy going to, being arrested, and all the different people who were a part or associated with him. They have found a list of 30 some odd ministers that went to some of those, what they call them, freak off.
My goodness, dude. So 36 of them, ministers, going to these parties. You have here, of course, a lot of things being unraveled with regards to this whole court case.
Yeah.
And, getting on to some other stuff, I think we'll talk a little bit about, we're going to talk more about Diddy in a second here. I wanted to mention Bruce Springsteen. Apparently, this is just so bizarre. Continues to trash America to European crowds. This is the guy that's saying "Born in the USA," tries to act like he's the all-American in his music, although
she just basically gave me tomorrow's streams. Through them links you posted, I'm going to play them tomorrow.
Technically, they say, well, actually, technically, the Born in the USA is supposed to be a critique. I mean, the guy pretends like he's all about America, right? Not anymore, apparently. Now he's just talking trash about our country while he's in Europe, And so that's the kind of stuff going on with Bruce Springsteen these days. You have this movie that was, not a movie, actually, it's a TV series. That's streaming June 24th that is sort of related to Iron Man, but it was like some sort of spin-off. And apparently, in comic form, it did terrible, yet they still tried to make a movie about it, or a TV series, actually. Marvel TV series called Ironheart. Check this out.
Ironheart for you, a TV show commissioned 5 years ago when the whole let's swap out beloved legacy characters for diverse new alternatives craze was at its obnoxious peak in the MCU, based around a particularly unpopular comic book character from arguably the least successful era of Marvel Comics ever, who did nothing but ride the coattails of her far more popular male predecessor, only with none of his charm, likability, flaws, or character development. It was,
of course, they tried to do the girl boss thing, which no one likes. I mean, they used to know how to do this right. I mean, you had Sigourney Weaver, you had I can't remember her name, the lady from Terminator. You had what you would call, I guess you would say, sort of girl bosses back in the 90s and early 2000s that weren't feminist, weren't saying they don't need, men or something, but they were like tough women, right? And they were successful. But now they've tried, for years, obviously, as you already know, the girl boss in the new lights, and it's been a complete failure. They've been holding off on releasing this TV series because they saw all these failures with the movies, and they just thought, well, maybe if we wait a while, it'll get better, and it never did. So they're finally just releasing it anyways. It's kind of like the whole Snow White thing. It's probably going to be a complete and utter failure, catastrophe, completely woke, obviously. And at any rate, by the way, if you're interested, we are making our game Noah VR. If you're interested in investing in our game, you can do so. Link is in the description for this. We have added 150 shares to this promotion where you can actually make money with us when we release the game. Those who've all already invested in the game will actually make more money now because we increased the percentage to 33. So it actually increased the amount you will be making, all those that already currently invested. But now we also have another 150 seats. So if you want to get involved or you want to add additional, you can do so. Link below. At any rate, we're getting pretty close to getting done with the game. We have to do, obviously, alpha, beta testing, a lot of things. We want to make sure we market this thing right so it's a huge success. So we're taking our time. Obviously, some of these games take years and years to make. I mean, look at the Grand Theft Auto. It's more than a decade. And they're actually just, what did they do? They just added another year to their creation. And they got like a massive team. They got like hundreds of people. We got like 4 or 5 people on this, right? So at any rate, we have one of the best programmers, though, in the world when it comes to VR. On our game, the first game we're releasing is not VR. It's going to be sort of like a standard game, like you would play on a monitor or on a TV with like an Xbox or something. It'll be released initially on Steam, and it's going to be sort of like an.
Okay, guys, I'll finish off with one more hymn. Where'd he go?
Since I've started doing this,
it's not all just watching, was it?
Said a ton of stuff. We're going to talk about these potential black, of course, outs, these power outages.
Okay, we haven't heard this.
Something big is about to happen, my friends. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We're going to get into actually a number of stories in this video. Something that just happened, I'm sure is going to cause a lot of things. This is big. Okay, and I'm going to get into it in a little bit. We're going to get into actually a number of stories in this video. We're going to get into Tom Cruise, something he just did. We're going to get into what's going on with Ellen DeGeneres over there in Europe. We're going to get into actually a number of other things that are going on around us. Also, the Pope, something about his brother that you're going to definitely want to hear. And also, if you didn't already see it on my other channel, there's a prediction about him that came true as well. We'll get into that as well. You have this clip here. This is very interesting. This is the Pope's brother. Check out what he had to say. Happened when he was younger.
I don't know how many people find it interesting, but when he was in first grade, a woman across the street that we used to
Talk about the Pope.
and a woman down the street said he would be the first American Pope. In first grade, they said that.
First grade.
Uh-huh.
A random woman told them he would be the Pope.
Well, they were neighbors, we knew them, but yes, he knew at that age he was going to be a priest.
Oh, goodness gracious, man. So some neighbor lady told the Pope when he was in first grade he was going to be the Pope, the first American Pope. That's kind of interesting.
Big call.
That seems pretty prophetic to me. You know what I mean? She somehow knew it. Maybe God had revealed it to her. Maybe the dude is a dark horse. Maybe he's a little bit better, and we're thinking there is a prophecy I'm going to play now.
He's just called himself the Roman. The Pope literally in the last 48 hours called himself the Roman. So is that Peter the Roman, the last Pope? Certainly looks like it.
That might be about him. This is from Kim Clement. Check this out.
Spirit of God shall fall in buildings of rock and stone. It shall fall in places where they least believed it. I will cause chaos, and I will say to them, now I will take people by the hundreds of millions and share my spirit with them.
Okay, he's going to say more here, but I just thought of something. I'm going to tell it after this. Check this out. Let's just listen to the rest.
I will raise up a man that shall continue, and they will say in the beginning, you won't be able to do it. But there shall be an experience after 33 days, and a raising up and a resurrection, and a spirit-filled Pope that will raise up a voice, and he shall speak the truth. And they will say, we must get him out of the way. But rejoice this day, for there are deaths of many great leaders.
Ooh. Oh my goodness. Am I seeing something here, my friends? Am I seeing something? Could this Pope be like a president, like actually cares about the truth, actually wants to do the right thing? Could he actually be a believer?
No.
Could he actually reveal what's been going on, all the corruption in the Vatican? Could he be the one who actually releases a number of documents? Because there's a prophecy about documents being released. He talks about here the deaths of many great leaders. In this prophecy, there's also a prophecy, from another year, another time, of Kim Clement talking about many shall fall in the fall.
The Catholics are Luciferian. There's no excuse. There's no, could he really be a believer? He believes, but he chose the other side. Tony's wrong here.
33 days from now, what would that be? That'd be in June, mid-June. Could that be the beginning of it? There's also a prophecy from Mark, Taylor, where he says that the last pope will be the last pope, not for the reasons people think, but perhaps because of all the darkness that will be revealed. And after everyone learns about it, they won't want to be a part of it anymore.
Okay, I believe the opposite. I reckon it's the Catholics that will be our persecutors. I argue with them on side. I know what they're like, and they're very big.
Because I don't think he is literally going to be the last one, but I'm thinking it's going to bring everything out in the open. I don't know. This is a weird way to look at it. Maybe this is what's going on because
I think Mystery Babylon is America. I think Rome is the harlot.
Apparently his brother's totally a good Catholic from what it looks like. And I guess I'm wondering if this guy's like a dark horse pretending to be like one of them, and then he actually is one of us. We'll see what happens here.
Because it is necessary so that I can raise up a new generation of men and women that will go into the marketplace and raise up the name of Yahweh.
Interesting. Of course, this was from Brandon's channel here. I don't agree with everything Brandon puts out, but he puts out some really good stuff. He's had some predictions come true. Not a bad dude. He's got some good stuff here and there. Kim Clement got good stuff as well. I mean, there's a lot of good guys out there. They don't have everything correct. I don't have everything correct. You know what I mean? But we're just postulating here.
Mm-hmm.
Could this Pope be the one that releases things? Books that have been hidden for many, many hundreds of years. That's a good question, because there is a prophecy that's going to occur very soon here. Maybe he's the guy that makes it happen. I even had a dream about it. I've talked about it before. It was like 2 years ago. At any rate, of course, in the Malachi prophecy, you had Pope Benedict right here. And then you had Pope Francis would have been one of the interim popes. It talks about here many analysis of the prophecy notes that is open to interpretation that additional popes would come between Glory the Olive and Peter the Roman. I don't think the current pope is Peter the Roman. There is a man who is a cardinal that is very popular that almost became pope, whose name is literally Peter in Latin, and he's literally from Italy, Rome, Peter the Roman. And he's very popular, and he almost won. So maybe he'll be the next one after this guy, or however that works. I don't know what will happen, but it's interesting. We're getting near the end with that whole thing. Of course, Christ, coming back, I think will be very soon as well. Check this out. We'll start off with this here. Ellen DeGeneres, apparently now living at large over there in the UK, mowing the lawn, going fishing, things of that nature. Apparently she doesn't look anything like she used to. Her hair actually looks dark there. Living large there, as you can see. Of course, where did she live before? Of course, she had to get out of here because a certain person got in.
Picking you up.
She used to live in a $70 million oceanfront estate. Ellen DeGeneres and Portia de Rossi together, of course, and sprawling land, as you can see there, with oceanfront view, Santa Barbara. Of course, moving from there to Europe so she can mow lawns, apparently, and looking a little bit different. Doesn't have the blonde hair anymore, and not exactly looking a little bit older than she used to, just a wee bit. Of course, you can see here starting to show those wrinkles a little bit more. Obviously not looking like she used to as much. Of course, some are saying that Mike Myers actually looks to be similar to her. I don't know what happened to Mike Myers. He looks so different as well. Apparently he's taken on the blonde hair from Ellen DeGeneres while she took on his black hair. I guess that's what happened. Some are saying he's a...
At TYT, we only serve 100% free-range chicken. We're on a mission to reinvent fast food.
When you are planning on buying a property, the deposit is
It's a lesbian here now. Yes, of course. I saw him recently on SNL. Mike Myers saying he's standing with Canada, and it's not for sale. As you can see here, Ellen DeGeneres used to look a little bit different back in the old days. Just a wee bit. And, of course...
I bet she's not drinking an adrenochrome, and that's why she looks so bad.
Some are saying maybe she doesn't have as good as she used to here. I wonder why she left. Oh, that's right. There's a court case going on right now with the Didmeister. Could that have something to do with it? I don't know. Yep. Man. It's kind of weird. You have here, of course, the Pope's brother. And we're going to get into a prediction about the Pope that came true. Maybe this dude is a dark horse. Maybe he is actually better than I thought he was. This is kind of interesting looking at his brother here, who's been making the rounds talking about the Pope. And, of course, he is a fan of our president and lives in Florida. As you can see here, that's the same last name.
It's the last one I picked out.
So, of course, he's talking about how people have some of that derangement, of course, syndrome, and also talking against other things and saying if you're distraught, there's places you can go for that after the win. So it is interesting, he's posting all this stuff. And here's the Pope, the new Pope, here's his brother. And a lot of people are talking about this now. So maybe the guy actually isn't what he at first appears to be.
That Anne Hash when Ellen outed her as being a partner, she was filthy on Ellen because she didn't want to come out, and Ellen dropped her on the Ellen dropped it out that she's you know what happened.
Maybe he did this on purpose. And I actually postulated that in one video. I think it was my last video, actually. I said, you know what? Look, why would he have to hide his cards? Why would he have to hide his opinions unless he's trying to get up high in the hierarchy? And maybe he just doesn't want anybody to really know what he thinks about stuff because he's got good opinions. And those at the top are not going to put something like that in there unless they're duped into it. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Hopefully, I mean, I guess we should be a little bit hopeful, right? Then, of course, we have this Pakistan-India thing. Apparently, it's over, or at least it seems to be over. I guess we'll see how that turns out. And you have some of these huge streamers like Hassan Piker, who seemingly always stands with the side, you know, where the Muslims are, even if they're in the wrong. It's just kind of amazing seeing some of these streamers talking about this. So it appears to be over. I guess we'll see if it truly is or not as the days go ahead. But we're going to get into, like I said, a ton of stuff. We're going to talk about these potential black, of course, outs, these power outages. They're coming to Europe because they're already telling us they're going to. They just put out an article about this. We'll get into that. We also saw what happened a week ago. I think it was a week or 2 weeks. I think it was a week ago. Spain, Portugal, Italy, I think it was North Italy, and some other country, you know, no power for the day. And I talked about what happened and how they're trying to go green, net carbon emissions. And so now we're going to get into an article about that next. We're going to talk about Billy Boy, the computer guy. Apparently, a number of things coming out on him. If you don't know who I'm referring to this guy right here. This man used to be in charge of a computer company. We'll get into that in a second. Actually, a ton of other things. We got some interesting predictions coming true. We're going to get into this whole thing about the Pope and much more. First, I'm going to mention Food Supply, 25-year shelf life. Link is in the description, 3 months worth. For $4.97. You're going to definitely want to get that if you have not already. Link is in the description. Cheapest price ever since I've started doing this. The lowest price before this was like $5.29. This is insane pricing. I mean, you might want to be prepared for whatever's next. You never know what's next. They want a world WAR, especially after what our president just did. Oh, that's right. I'm going to talk about that too. That's a huge story. I almost forgot about that one. That's kind of big. Yeah, he kind of unaligned from someone. Yeah, and it's like a really big one once you understand who it is.
You reckon it's a guy, do you? That's interesting.
And what this could turn into. Like I said, we'll get into that. But go check that out. You might want to buy that. Link is in the description, and this book here, The Lost Ways, how your great-great-grandfather lived without electricity, how to build a cellar, do things around the house like they did in the good old days, 100 pages illustrated. You're going to definitely want to get that book if you have not already. Get the printed version, $37. Get link is in the I can't talk. Anyway, let's get on with the video. So, of course, our president has unaligned from this man here, Benjamin. And apparently, this is what they're saying. There's been some articles coming out about this, even some publications from over there in the Middle East saying this as well. And I think this is bigger than a lot of people realize, because there's a lot of sway from their side. Let's just put it that way. And apparently, they're having sort of a disagreement about what to do with, you know, Iran. This is apparently what's caused this entire thing to occur. We'll see what happens as the days go ahead. But I kind of feel like this is kind of big, bigger than people realize. And I'm wondering what's going to happen as a result of it. Well, I guess we'll see, right? Because I don't think this has really ever happened. Not really. Usually they have pretty good relations. So I'm curious. And I think because there are people, of course, at the top that have, of course, connections here as well. it's an interesting thing to look into. I guess we'll see what happens. But anyway, so there's that. But looking at Britain, they're talking about they could face months-long blackouts because of net zero. Grid operator has raised concerns that the switch from dependable gas to intermittent wind and solar power will reduce network stability. We were talking about this. Actually, that's literally what happened with Spain and Portugal, is that they had less ability to deal with spikes, power spikes, and that's why the whole entire thing went down. So them trying to go all green here is not really sustainable. Ironic. That's an ironic way to put it. Because don't they say we need to be sustainable? It's not really sustainable, literally. I mean, the other use of the word, the actual original use, it's not sustainable because it ain't going to work. So they might end up having a lot of power, of course, outages there. I guess we'll see what happens. But we also had what happened a week ago, and literally their power also almost went off at the same time, by the way. I think it was a week ago. April 29th, what is that? Okay, a week and a half. UK hit with unexplained power failures hours before Spain, Portugal. Yeah, it almost happened already once. This is from Newsweek. So they're going to be having some fun with their power in the near future. Some may wonder, of course, if that is tied into some of these other stories, like them trying to dim, of course, the sun, which they got the green light on. Let me show you that one first, I guess. Where is that at? I was skipping around here. Oh, and we got another story about Billy Boy, too. Let me show you this first, though. Experiments to dim, of course, the sun. Get green lights in the UK. And, of course, this all started 3 years ago with this guy bringing it out, wanting to get it done. Of course, I've talked about the science. NASA's literally debunked this. NASA, of all places, put out a study showing that actually when you have more solar radiation, it actually cools the planet because the plants grow more and suck up all the energy. So it's kind of funny, actually, because if there's more plants, there's more coolness because you can be under the shade or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how it works. It apparently makes it cooler on the Earth. So dimming the sun, you may think this is actually a good idea, but actually, technically, it will probably make it warmer because there will be less vegetation. Less vegetation will actually make the Earth hotter. Now, there might be a point where if you really dimmed it, like kind of like the movie The Matrix, where it's like literally dark out all the time. Okay, then it'll be cooler, right? There won't be any plants left, right? So I guess it depends on how you want it. Anyway, of course, Billy Boy has a civil trial coming up here in Europe this year in November. Maybe this is why he gave away all his money, or says he did. You remember he used to say that all the time. He said, "Oh yeah, I gave away all my money," but what he really meant is he gave it to his own foundation, which, by the way, he just closed. Maybe he made a new one because, of course, the one he just closed was getting money from us, the taxpayer, and he doesn't want to be held liable. So he closes that corporation. It's a separate entity from him so that he has less liability. Oh, look at me. I'm so clever. I'm a little snake. I'm Billy Boy the computer snake. And I think I'm so clever. And I'm going to pretend like I'm helping people. Oh, I'm a philanthropist. Giving money out to people. Really? I don't believe you, dude. Apparently he has the same personality type as me, INTP, although probably not a good one, as you can imagine. So, yeah, so he's going to be going to court. We have here RFK talking about it. It has to do with that one pokey thing. Yeah, so a lot of people didn't like what he was doing last few years. And now it's catching up to him, so he thinks he can just close his foundation now. Oh, wash my hands of that. I'm okay now. Except for you're still getting sued anyways. You're still sued anyways. And, of course, what else is going on in the UK currently? We had this story just come out as well. Let me show you this one. This one looks really nice. Retired police officer. Apparently they have thought, of course, crimes there now. Oh, he tweeted something. Oh, my goodness. Oh, no, a retired policeman. I mean, they got the most ridiculous stories coming out of there now. I mean, they got like doors being kicked in on grandma while she's watching her old school TV, you know, like the tube ones. What did I do? Oh, you wrote something on Facebook. You're going to have to come with us now to the precinct. Granny, you know, this is the kind of stuff they do there now. So wholesome, of course. You have Tom Cruise apparently smart enough not to destroy his career. Unlike most of these Hollywood people, Tom Cruise sidesteps talk about tariffs at Mission Impossible press stop. We'd rather answer questions about the movie. The dude's smart. Okay, he's a smart guy. Of course, he was in that one movie, Eyes Wide, of course, shut. Probably knows a few things. Probably not good. But at least he's smart enough to know not wise to talk against the president and not wise to get into politics. Smarter than the average Joe in Hollywood, at least, right? So you got that going on. You have, of course, the cost of Disney World these days is insane. Apparently one day.
Tony always glares. I can't help it. His backdrop.
Hey, about $1,400 for a meal. I mean, one of the meals is like $250 for his family. I think he has like 2 kids. Like, what the hell? $250? I guess that's possible. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's Disney World, right? You know, it's just prices have gotten insane. I remember going there a million years ago, and it was a lot cheaper than that. I can tell you that right now. But at any rate, I've heard of other people saying they went there for like 10
Okay, guys, I'm out. God bless. See you tomorrow.
days or a week with their family, and it was like $10,000-$20,000. You know, it's like, oh, that sounds fun. I don't think I want to go. That sounds really expensive. At any rate, so there's that. But we have a few more things. We have, of course, these tariffs that are really working out well. So